This is our relationship series called Amazing Relationships, and today we're going to talk about communicating. Who's ever had a little struggle communicating with somebody? Communicating is really what, if you think about it, it's really what relationships are about. You have two people. I think this will work, and this should apply if they're friends. If this is work-related, maybe your boss, maybe this is a spouse, husband and wife thing, or a parent and a child, or whatever it is, communicating is really, when you think about it, that's really what relationships consist of, like going back and forth. And so we really couldn't do a relationship series without talking about communicating. And communicating it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. In John's Gospel, it records Jesus saying, I don't speak on my own, but the Father who sent me tells me what to say and how to say it. So it's what you say and it's how you... Let's do it together. Ready? It's what you say and how you say it. Isn't this true? It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And this is being well documented. I mean, all kinds of research is being done, and really what they're learning is 90% of our communicating is nonverbal. Facial expression, gesture, tone of voice. How many parents have ever said, don't use that tone with me? Huh? Tone. You force your kids to say thank you to somebody. Aunt Millie got them the most god-awful present ever, right? And you force them, go over there and thank Aunt Millie, and they just walk over there. Or you make them apologize to their brother. And their tone. Tone says so much. So we're going to use this today as we launch. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And so as we talk about communication, we struggle because we're just different. Last weekend I did a wedding. I talked to them about the two planets that men and women live on. You ever read the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? And they talk two completely different languages, literally. Have you ever found this to be true? Like, we are just missing each other. Since we had Charlie, I found Vicki and I developed a new language for our baby. And it's like, so we can communicate. It's nonverbal. So it's like if she's sleeping in a room, we have a code. Can I go into the room? She's like, what is this? Well, this is she's out. She's out. Both eyes shut. This is, nope, she's wide awake. We go around the car, see if she's awake in the car seat. We have signals. That is how hard you can shut. Anybody with me? And so the other day I was asking, could I go by the room? She goes, no. That means she's half in and half out. You're going to wake her up and you're going to watch her all night long and I'm going to hang you, right? And this was, okay. So communicating, we struggle. You know, when I would speak internationally a lot, I'd be in places where, I don't speak the language. I'd have a translator, And if you've ever done this before, you know how ignorant like we sound sometimes. It's like I'm talking another language, trying to talk to somebody in English, and they're speaking another language. And instead of changing the language, which would help because they don't speak English, I talk louder. Where's the bathroom? So this is what happens. We don't communicate well, so we get louder. And instead of getting louder, that's not the problem. We need to get better. We need to find their language. What to say and what? How to say it. What to say and how. I was so glad Anna's here singing today, and yesterday I did a wedding and I walked up and then she was singing at the wedding. I'm like, I'm home free. If you get to speak after that voice, you're home free, right? The first wedding I ever did, we were talking about it, and this couple the other day, and I said, just be glad it wasn't the first one. The first wedding I did was a Can I just say a complete disaster? Thank God they're still married. You know what I mean? Because I had nothing to do with it. And I was up there, and I had never done a wedding before, so I was nervous. Anybody ever get nervous speaking in public? I was so nervous, and I had done a lot of speaking and teaching to students, but that was a whole different dynamic. I mean, I would get up, I would tell stories, and you know what I do. And this was different to me. In my head, it was different. This was formal. They're getting married. And I felt like it needed to be very official. So I asked the pastor, I said, do you have any notes or anything? Could you help me? I've never done a wedding. So he just literally hands me his notes. And I was so nervous that I wanted to do it correctly and make sure that they were married and it was all good in the eyes of God and whoever else needed to make sure. So I read everything word for word. Now, if you've been in Orchard Grove for a while, you know I'm not a word-for-word guy. I've been on a tangent or two. I've been lost in a story or two, right? So I am now reading this thing word for word, and I get nervous, and I start sweating. And then I went off on this there was a whole page and a tirade about the rings that are made of gold, and it's a sign of divinity. It didn't even dawn on me that their rings aren't gold. They had silver rings. But I nonetheless pontificated for a long time about the gold symbolism of the rings. And the point was this. I was so worried, this is important, I was so worried about me. How did I sound? How was I coming across? That I couldn't be in their moment to talk to them. Are you with me? Here's the first thing that breaks our communication down. When we're so worried about ourselves. First thing, if you're going to be in good communication, you just have to care. Not about you, not about how you sound or how you look or your position. You have to care about the other. Once you cross that threshold, by the way, public speaking included, stop worrying about yourself and how you look. You start thinking about the people that you're talking to. You're in a different field. So caring, it begins. So communicating, how do we do it? Before we talk about talking, we have to talk about listening. Before we talk about talking, we have to talk about listening. Say, no, Chris, I just want to learn to communicate. I want to talk better. I want to get my point across. No. We have to begin with listening. All good communication begins with listening. James says, everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak. What are we usually? Quick to speak and what? I'll get around to it. I'll get around to listening sometime. Here we go. I got to listen. Why? Because I can't be in communication with somebody if I don't listen to their viewpoint, understand them. Who are they? What are they trying to say? What matters to them? All of these things. You begin with your audience, don't you? It depends on who I'm talking to. Are they old? Are they young? Are they mature? Are they immature? The other day I brought Charlie into we have a guys gathering here every so often, and I was on duty, so I brought Charlie in. It was all men and Charlie. And when I walked in, you could hear the guys, it's typical guys gather. Yeah, I just found this bear on the side of the road, and I just grabbed him by the jaws and split him in two, that kind of talk. And everybody's got the deep growl. And when I walked in with Charlie, it was like this. Everybody's voice went up like 3 octaves. Oh, Charlie, goody, goody, good. Look at the toes. All these men, the octaves just went up. Why? Instinctively, you know to adapt to your audience like this. This is so important because some of you have this attitude that I don't care. I just tell people what I think. I've had people tell me proudly, I don't care what people think. I just tell them like it is. What is this? This is arrogance because it's saying, I don't care about anyone else or their opinions or their thoughts. I'm here to tell you mine. That doesn't help for building bridges. It helps for destroying them. You have to begin with your audience. Who am I talking to? Any good coach would tell you this. Any good coach. You can't talk to all the players the same. If this guy over here, he just needs a minute. This guy over here, he loves it when you yell at him. He loves it. You yell at him, it motivates him. This guy, it tears him apart. So what are you doing? As a mature communicator, this is important, as a mature communicator, I'm going to adapt to not if you're immature, yeah, you just get up and let people have it. Or you just treat everyone the same. But as you mature, you start to realize, people are different. One person needs to be talked to this way. This might hurt this person. As I mature, I can be in tune with the thoughts and the feelings that other people have. This is why Paul wrote, in 1 Corinthians, to the Jew, I became like a Jew, so I could connect with them. Now, this is what's important. Paul was actually Jewish, so he didn't have to become Jewish, but he had to get in a mindset that was Jewish. He had sort of moved beyond his traditional Jewish religious roots. And he got out of the box, and he still had the culture to deal with. So he would connect culturally. This is what these people value. This is what they talk about. This is what they think about. And then to the non-Jew, he would become to the Gentile, and on. He could adapt. Let me tell you a little bit about this that I think is true. This is hard to do. It's tiring. It's tiring. I noticed this the other day. I was trying to figure out, for years at Orchard Grove, like on Sunday, I'm just tired. And it's not like it's that much work. I get up here and I talk, and then another group, I come in and I talk again, and you'd say, you shouldn't be that tired. But it's a different kind of tired. If I go to a restaurant, I'm cranky. I'm like, can they hurry up with the food? I'm usually pretty nice and chilled. And people say, you want to go to a restaurant on Sunday? I go, no. I'm ornery on Sunday. This is just true. And I couldn't figure out, and so I started the other day, I started to think about, what is it? And I realized what it is. On Sunday, people come and talk to me. I have no idea what's coming. I step right down here. My dad just got cancer. My son just got locked up. We're going through a divorce. We just had a baby. And what I find myself is on this emotional roller coaster. What do I need to do as a pastor? The other day, it was Father's Day weekend. One of my good buddies who goes to church here, his dad just died a couple days before. I just buried him. So we're in the communion line, and I just reach out to him, I hug him, And I know some people think, oh, is he like pastor's favorite or something like that? But see, you don't know. You don't know what's going on, do you? But what I have found is I have to match the mood. And sometimes it's a time to celebrate. And sometimes it's a time to mourn. And you go through this like a ringer. I'm not asking for sympathy or anything like that. Not at all. It was sort of an awakening thing for me. It was like, yeah, that's why I'm tired. I have to match the mood of whoever comes to me, and I don't know what's coming next. I'm saying it for this reason. I think if we're to connect with people, which is what communicating is all about, you got to find them, not always asking them to find you. People come to you and they're hurting. Now, this is hard when we're both at our wits' end. This is when communicating gets tough, because I'm exhausted and they're exhausted, and we're both kind of at our wits' end, and we're not in the mood, or we don't have time to kind of hear are you with me? Which is why on Sundays I always go home and take a nap. Because I need to recharge. You can't communicate if you aren't listening. And you can't really listen if you aren't really connecting to them and what they're saying. Speaking of listening, have you ever listened to yourself talk? Anybody? Anybody ever get weirded out by listening to yourself talk? Like, do I really sound like that? Awful nasally. I mean, I didn't know they were going to show this old video of me, and you have the same reaction, like, oh boy, that's nasty. And have you ever done it? You're like, have you said to somebody, do I really sound like that? This is important. Listen to yourself talk. I mean, if you could play back, not for if your voice is nasally, but for what you're saying and how you're coming across. Some of you, you're a boss and you don't realize how much like Hitler you sound like. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you jumping in there. Some of you, you're at home and you're talking to your spouse and you don't realize how demanding you sound. You don't even realize it. You just start barking things out. Maybe some parents with their children. Whatever it is, but the problem is we don't have a mirror to us. So what we think is we're doing a great job of communicating. I think I'm getting my point across very well, but we don't realize how we sound. So we need a mirror. We need someone to reflect back to us. This might sound a little better said this way. Sweetie, you probably could have done without the... Listen to me. God bless you if you have a mirror. If you have a spouse, or if you have a mom, or you have somebody that loves you and cares you enough to say in the right way to you, you're coming across this way. But you got to have the courage to look in it. Remember when James talked about this? You look in a mirror and then you go away, you don't make any changes. No, you have the mirror so that you can. I got to reflect on how I'm coming across. Boy, we could use a lot of listening, couldn't we? On our interpersonal relationships. We could use it globally on our international relationships. Listening to yourself as well as listening to someone else. Now, beyond listening, and we can talk about this all day, I want to say one thing. Don't listen too carefully. Here's what I mean by this. Ecclesiastes is a great scripture, and it says, don't listen too intently to someone, or you may hear them cursing you. Don't take to heart everything that they're saying. The Message paraphrase puts it really well. Don't eavesdrop on the conversations of others. What if the gossip's about you? Huh? Everybody look. Don't listen too carefully. We've all done this. Did they say something about me? Or he's saying, don't listen to every word. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and they're waiting for you to make a mistake in something that you say? This is not a conversation, right? They're waiting for the gotcha moment when you said something that was wrong or incorrect, this is not a conversation. Oh, no, you said that was incorrect. I've been in counseling with people. It's like, bro, drop it. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Bro, drop it. It's not any good. You're just trying to find them saying the one thing. That's not a communication. I found this to be true. I'll be up here trying to give a message, trying to get something across. Today I'm talking about communicating, compassionately, caringly, listening. You're getting the main drift. Who's getting the main drift? How many aren't even awake yet? There you go. But then someone will send an email and say, well, you said this. It's like one little slice of a whole thing. And, Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure I've said some doozies over the years. I've needed to be corrected. But do you understand what I'm saying? If your point is to find something wrong in what someone said, you're going to find it. That's not a good way to communicate. The point is not to find something wrong that they said. The point is to get the gist. Don't listen too carefully. Listen to their heart. Connect with them. Now, when we start to speak, and it's our turn, and we've listened, and I don't think I did a good enough job in the first part of the message because I think we all need to do a lot more listening. Listen, 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 listen. But when it becomes our time, the first thing about speaking is that you have to trust the right timing. It's not always the time to speak up. Are you ready? It's not, first thing, it's not time to speak up when you're mad. Isn't that usually when we get going the most? Okay, look, friends. If you know what's funny about church is like, I'm talking about stuff that I know this is where you live, but if we were at a bar, you guys would be going, oh boy, you're so right. But we're at church and people are like, I'm not familiar with the conflict you're describing. So can we cut past all that? We all do it. We all get angry. We all get this thing going too much when we get angry. Isn't this true? It's not good timing when you're mad. When you get heated, boss, spouse, parent, child, doesn't matter, neighbor, when things get heated, it's usually not time to talk more. And it's the exact opposite of what you're going to want to do. I'm going to let this person have it. People get proud. They tell me how much they let them have it. Sometimes it's the time to bite your tongue. Who learned that growing up? Just don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Why? Because once you say it, you can't take it back in. Cool off. Go for a walk. This is important. You get heated, just go for a walk. Honey, can I just go for a walk for a minute? Yesterday, we were doing a wedding. So my old life was Chris. Chris had to do a wedding. Chris just got himself ready and left. I needed 5 minutes. Chris got married. Chris needs 45 minutes. Chris had a baby. Chris needs 2 hours and 45 minutes to leave. Is anybody with me? Life got complicated. I mean, this is what I'm thinking now. Leaving the house is like getting to an airplane. Well, you got check-in, then you got boarding, then you got pre-boarding, and so now we have to check all the bags into the car. Is anybody with me? This is now a process. You can't show up 1 hour before. So I'm trying to get the timing thing all right. And we were going to a wedding, so I needed to be on time because I'm officiating the wedding. And we're doing good, and we're trying to get everybody ready. And Charlie's, not cooperating 100%. And Mom decides before we get her in the car, because she's going to be fussy at the wedding, let me top her off. Anybody? Moms know what top? Never mind. And I grab Charlie. Okay, I got the suit on. Let's go. We head to the car. I grab her. I'm going to a wedding. Got the suit on. Oh. She throws up all over my tie. Is anybody with me? I need to go to a wedding. All right, quick survey. Was I happy or angry? Huh? How many love your pastor anyway? But I was angry. There's nowhere to walk. So we get in the car, and I started to lecture the family. Oh, God love me. I'm a mess. So I lectured the family on what time we need to be ready to leave and all that. And thank God my wife has all kinds of grace and didn't even bother to reply to my idiocy. Are you with me? She didn't even bother to reply. Just let you sit there and feel like an idiot that you are for a minute. And we drove to the wedding with a lot of quiet, knowing, I know this has never happened in your family, knowing I have to talk about love in a few minutes and how much we all love each other, how loving everything is in the world. But you know what? Thank God for my wife who just didn't need to talk, didn't need to tell me I was wrong. And I was, but are you with me? But sometimes you need to tell them. I got to tell you. Why? It's not every time. It's just tense. It was this. It was that. Let it go. We'll talk about it later. Now, it doesn't mean you never talk about stuff. That's not good either. Shove it down, shove it down. That's not healthy. But timing. Everybody look here. It's not always the right time to talk. It's not always the right time to get your point across. It's not always the right time. There is a right time. I love what Proverbs 10 says. When words are many, sin is not absent. Right? Sin starts multiplying. When that motor gets going, something bad's going to happen. Have you noticed to be true in your life? If you can just hold off, I don't need to say this right now. Have you ever done it? You found out the next day you could say something so much better when you weren't so heated. Wasn't going to be so hurtful to someone. You know, what you say is important too. We talked a lot about how you say it, but what you say is important. In Proverbs 18 it says this, in the tongue there is the power of life and death. In the tongue is the power of life and death. And I would think today, if you didn't hear anything, please hear that. This is a powerful weapon. It really is. Now everyone look. Because you can remember being really hurt by somebody who used this against you. They talked down to you. They tore you down. They used this to do. And why does it feel like you're actually dying? Because it's destroying. And the same token, you can remember, you can recall a parent or a coach or somebody lifting you up with their words. I'm so proud of you. I'm so impressed with you. And they say these words to you, and it's like they're just like watering your soul, and you're literally growing as they talk to you. In the tongue is the power of life and death. How many times have I said this at Orchard Grove? We should give out driver's licenses for these things. You know? They don't want kids driving around, crashing into people, but these things just flow. You can do a lot of damage with this thing. And you can do so much good. Think about today. Walk around with somebody and kindly lift them up with your words. Say something to them that builds them up. Or as Paul talked about in Ephesians, he said, don't let any corrosive communication, unwholesome is one translation. That is, it doesn't bring wholeness. It doesn't bring healing. Don't let this be a corrosive agent. Let it be a healing agent. But only what is helpful, ready, for building up others according to what? Their needs. Their needs. You have to be listening. This is what this person needs right now. I think if our focus was, you know what? This thing has a lot of power, and I'm responsible. I'm responsible for its power. God help us. God help us to use our words, never to tear people down, but to build them up. Now I want to close with this, because this is where it's all coming to. This is what it's all about. This is what's important. Listening is an important technique. Waiting and biting your tongue and using the right time. You know, you don't talk about your financial problems when the Visa bill comes because you're too mad. It's not the right time. You talk about it when you're calm. What's going to be our family strategy? What's going to be our financial plan? Let's talk when the birds are chirping and we both had a cup of coffee. Is anybody with me? Wait. Timing. That's a good technique. But what I want to tell you as we close is this. Communicating is not about a good technique. Great and compassionate communication is about transformation, not technique. Here's what I mean. Communicating comes from the heart. In fact, Jesus taught us this. Jesus said so well, as he always did. We live from our hearts. We speak from our hearts. The words come out of. So Jesus says in Luke, a good man brings good things out of the good that is stored. Let's say that word together, stored. 1, 2, 3, stored. There's stuff that's stored in you, in your heart. This is huge. I could talk about techniques all day long. And by the way, have you ever been techniqued by somebody? They're usually selling you something. There's techniques like look them in the eye, nod affirmatively. Is anybody with me? So someone's talking, that's really interesting, Chris. I like what you said there. Can I rephrase it back to you? You know, like, I know this guy went to a seminar somewhere, and this is really disgusting. We don't need to technique each other. What we need is to be transformed here. Why? Because when you're changed here, you're storing up new stuff in here. Because everybody gets squeezed. Everybody gets bumped. If you get bumped hard enough, you lose your job, you lose this, you lose that. What's in here, what's stored is going to come out. This is what Jesus taught us. What's stored is going to come out. No matter how many techniques you've learned over the years, you get bumped hard enough and it's going to come out. So what do I need to pay attention to more than anything? What am I storing? What am I putting in? Do I always get angry? No, let's start here for a minute. Everyone here is a work in progress. Everybody. Everybody here has got a little bit of gnarly stored up in there. Some percentage of gnarly. Unless you're Jesus of Nazareth here this morning. You got some, right? And you got a lot of good stored in there. But if we communicate well, listen, it's not hard work. Oh, I've got to remember my technique. Am I supposed to listen or bite my tongue? It just flows. And it flows because you have so much good stored. That's what transformation is, or spiritual growth, if that's the phrase that you would like. When God changes your heart by the work of His Spirit from the inside, now it just flows. Now I'm inclined to listen. No, you're just getting that sense. No, it's just time to listen. I was sharing with the first service. Maybe this will help. It's the difference between cooking with a recipe and being with a master chef. Anybody have a grandma that was a master? Huh? My grandma, Dutch egg. Family recipe, Dutch egg. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows how to make it. But you go to grandma's to get it. And she starts getting some flour and some eggs and some sugar and starts just throwing things with stuff that just starts happening. Boom, boom, boom. And then bam, this little like flatter than a pancake, sweeter than ice cream thing comes out. And we all just put brown sugar on it and devour it. It's called Dutch egg in our family. But ever been with somebody, they're making a dish, and they're just like, have you seen someone that can cook? And then there's me. This is what I make. I make sugar cookies from the package. There's 2 instructions. Instruction 1, put it on the sheet. Instruction 2, heat it for 11 minutes. 11 to 14 minutes. Literally, I still read the package. Oh yeah, put them on the cookie sheet. Oh yeah, 11 minutes. This is how some people do their Christian life. Is it rule number 2 or is it rule number 3? Are you with me? This is tedious. It's difficult. It's treacherous. But once the Spirit takes over, which is all what Jesus was teaching us, it's not about following the recipe. Communicating is not about the right technique. It's about following the flow of God's Spirit working in your life. And you'll know right away, no, shut up, Chris, stop talking. You just know, like, that person's hurting. They don't need this. They need this. Are you with me? It'll be here. It'll be so driven here. Oh, God, get us to the master chef level of our faith, right? Where you know how to communicate because it's down here. Can I say something that I think is kind of true? I can't verify or prove it. Women seem to get it easier than men. It's just my casual pastoral observation. Because they seem to be more intuitive. And the guys are like, yeah, but you said, and they got their little thing, but you said on April 8th, you just said this. Who cares what I said? This was what I... Are you with me? They get it here. And I think what God wants us to do is a little more here, from living from here. Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. It just flows out. And if you got it all good in here, this is going to happen. That's why I'm saying this is not an overnight fix. Use the technique. Use the bite the tongue technique. Use the listening technique. Yes, yes, yes. But don't skip transformation. And that takes longer. Look, that takes longer. This thing doesn't just change overnight. You got well-worn patterns. Huh? Some of you grew up with a dictator dad, so you just went, when you got your family, you went into dictator mode. Just tell everybody what to do. That's not healthy. You have to transform here. I'm done. I'm way done. All right, let's stand up. We'll have a closing prayer. Speaking of communicating, I had a professor in college that told me, until you can be good, be brief. I should have listened more to that class. One of them said to me, stand up, speak up, and shut up. It's time to be done. When you're communicating, look, you have to care. You just have to care. You're going to say it wrong, they're going to say it wrong. You're going to get it wrong, it's going to be the wrong timing. You're going to want to get your point. At the end of the day, you got to care. And sometimes you need to throw everything aside and just hug. I don't know, it doesn't matter. I love you. Are you with me? It doesn't matter who's right and what time it is. It doesn't matter. You're more important than this. This might be the greatest communication tool you ever